Vic, and this is the minute. The CDC is investigating a possible case of bird flu in a child in Alameda County. The state health department says that child has mild symptoms. They're looking into possible exposure to wild birds. The CDC says it has not found any cases of that virus spreading from person to person. The BART station in Union City is back open this morning after BART police shot somebody in the parking lot last night. It happened at around 9:30. The suspect was sent to the hospital. Their condition has not been released, and police have not yet said what led up to that shooting. And the Oakland City Council holding a special meeting this morning to talk about the city's financial crisis. The city is facing a massive budget shortfall that could lead to cuts in services like police and fire. They are set to get an update today on first quarter revenue. The Bay Area's only primetime newscasts at 8 and 9 p.m. on PIX Plus, 44 Cable 12.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
We will be under a flood watch all throughout the North Bay, from the Golden Gate Bridge and Marin Headland, or the Marin Headlands area, all the way up north into areas like Napa and Sonoma, starting early tomorrow morning, just around 4 a.m. And that's going to last throughout Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday's forecast too, with heavy rain expected each of those days, especially up in the North Bay, but widespread throughout the Bay Area. I mean, we're all going to get our fair share of showers. Take a look at this. We're expecting 60s today with these dry conditions, partly cloudy skies, but let's time out the storm right now. So we are prepared before we head out the door tomorrow morning, or we can at least game plan tonight before it even starts, because around 3 a.m. up near Santa Rosa, that's when we get our first splash of showers. And then it becomes a lot more apparent how heavy this is and how consistent it is too. Now by 7 a.m. we're seeing light to heavy rain in the forecast for us throughout the North Bay. Light scattered showers starting to fall down into the South Bay just around lunchtime. And this exact same storm system is the one that's fueling in snow to the Sierra too, but we're focused about us here in the Bay right now. Along our coastline, we can see wind gusts up to around 50 miles per hour in areas like Bodega Bay, 30-mile-per-hour wind gust expected with this exact same rain system into the evening hours tomorrow night up into the North Bay. Notice how we don't really catch a break as we head into those evening hours. In certain pockets of the Bay Area, yes, but there's still those heavy pockets of rain that will fall into the early morning hours on Thursday too. So in total, we could see close to around 3 inches up in the North Bay, in areas like Napa, about 2 inches, closer to areas like San Rafael, about 1/10 of an inch down into the Santa Clara Valley. Let's head over and take a look at the next 7 days real fast, because as we head into this wet setup for us throughout the rest of this week, heading into the weekend forecast, we'll continue to keep you updated with those rainfall totals. Right now, models are changing here and there as we take a look at the long-range models, so by next Monday, things could look a lot different. But right now, one thing we do know is early tomorrow morning, we will receive that heavy rain up into the North Bay, and heading into the morning commute hours, it will impact all of us throughout the Bay Area heading into the afternoon hours tomorrow, lingering into Thursday and Friday too, with cool, chilly conditions and a wind advisory that will remain in effect throughout the afternoon hours today, heading into the early morning hours tomorrow.
It is a drug that has made headlines, from Matthew Perry's death to the Momeni murder trial. Ketamine. It's a Schedule III controlled substance in the same classification as steroids. They are considered less dangerous and less addictive than some other drugs, but now a local psychologist is trying to cut through what he calls misinformation when it comes to using the drug for mental health treatment. Kevin Coe spoke with several people involved with ketamine-assisted therapy about its promise and challenges.
Harvey Schwartz is the co-founder of the Polaris Insight Center.
This is like a typical San Francisco Edwardian or Victorian building.
This home-like therapy office offers legal ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, also known as KAP. Ketamine therapy can be administered through an FDA-approved nasal spray. Schwartz uses oral lozenges, or IV.
There's low dose, medium dose, and high dose.
Schwartz got his PhD in the early 80s, but it wasn't until 2016 where he became a proponent, advocate, and educator for KAP.
It's a blessing, but it's also easily misunderstood. It's easily the subject of propaganda, but it's also the biggest breakthrough in mental health that's happened in the past 50 years.
Schwartz sees ketamine as a therapeutic tool unlike any other. He says it treats and heals across the mind, body, and soul, doing so much faster than traditional antidepressants. But Schwartz knows many don't see ketamine the same way he and other licensed psychologists here do.
It's heartbreaking to see one event throw back the movement of the past 5 or 10 years. And so there's been a drop in people coming for treatment because they've been intimidated by the misinformation.
Whether it was when actor Matthew Perry fatally drowned with ketamine in his system last year, or in the murder trial of Cash App founder Bob Lee, who had ketamine in his system when killed. Schwartz says headlines spread confusion on the therapeutic benefits of ketamine.
One of my best friends called me and said, "Oh, I just heard about Matthew Perry, and are you sure this is safe? And I don't know why you're doing this."
Andy is a Polaris patient who feels the public perception of ketamine personally. That's why he isn't comfortable showing his face after doing 25 CAP sessions over 3 years.
My gosh, like I could think through problems. I could see pieces that I didn't see before, solutions that people may have offered where I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Suddenly we're like, well, maybe I'll do that.
But you can't really talk about it.
That's why I wanted to do this. This is a therapeutic intervention that's guided by science and guided by professionals, but people don't know that. So I would hate for someone who knows me well in a professional setting to judge me and think, oh man, you're like doing K? What's up with that?
Andy says CAP worked for him when traditional therapy couldn't break through. Psychologist Jessica Armstrong says this is a common game changer.
I think it can just really catalyze the process. You know, we can get to things in talk therapy without medicine that you can get to in medicine sessions, but the potential for getting there kind of more rapidly.
These reported rapid benefits of CAP run contrary to the public perception of ketamine. For advocates like Schwartz, it speaks to the ongoing growth of a new page in mental health treatment.
One bad apple kind of spoils the whole thing. And so there's a fragility to the emergence of a new paradigm.
Critics of ketamine therapy say the drug has the potential for addiction, and there are also concerns about the lack of regulations. Plus, each treatment can run upwards of $1,000, not covered by insurance. A Bay Area man was one of 2 people killed by an out-of-control truck at an off-road race in Mexico. James Goff from Livermore owned Jim's Country-Style Restaurant, a Pleasanton staple, for more than 30 years. The tragedy happened Thursday in Ensenada. Police say an orange trophy truck lost control during a mechanical inspection, hitting 4 spectators at the Baja 1000 off-road race. Witnesses say the driver revved the engine before the crash. A driver has been arrested and the truck impounded. Officials say the race organizers will face penalties for that incident. Today, the defense in Nima Momeni's murder trial in San Francisco is expected to rest their case. Yesterday, Momeni answered more than 60 questions from the jury on his 3rd day of testimony. A judge read those questions aloud to Momeni. He's trying to convince the jury that he was simply defending himself when he stabbed Cash App founder Bob Lee. Our Lauren Toms breaks down the day in court and how both sides are faring when it comes to convincing that jury.
The first thing that was surprising was how far Nima will go to try and trash Bob's memory and try and trash our family to try and save himself.
The family of Bob Lee determined to make their voices heard as jurors posed dozens of questions to the man at the center of this case, Nima Momeni. Many questions zeroing in on the deadly confrontation. Momeni persistent in his claims of self-defense, insisting that a bad joke provoked the deadly altercation with Lee. He testified that Lee, enraged, attacked him first with a knife. Lee's family, however, hopes jurors aren't buying it and are instead spotting holes in Momeni's narrative.
Bob wasn't so much in the physical activity. He was a tech guy. He was a CTO. He was a computer programmer.
It doesn't happen often, but today jurors were in the driver's seat, the judge allowing them to submit their questions to the witness. After first being vetted by attorneys and the judge, these questions focused on crucial details, including whether Momeni held the knife during the deadly scuffle. Under oath, Momeni admitted he grabbed the knife after the altercation, claiming he tossed it over a fence to keep it out of Lee's reach. But a critical question looms. Where did the knife come from in the first place? That piece of the puzzle remains shrouded in uncertainty and possibly out of the court's reach.
This is a problem for the defense. This is one area that it's hard to give an explanation for that jurors may be totally comfortable with. 99% of the DNA on the handle is Nima Momeni's. If Bob Lee had the knife and was supposedly the one stabbing Nima Momeni, why wasn't there any of Bob Lee's DNA on the knife?
Jurors also probed Momeni's state of mind on the night of the stabbing. He admitted to inhaling a small amount of cocaine about 90 minutes before the incident and having a beer with Lee. Still, he insisted he was not intoxicated.
He gave them explanations. Whether they believe those explanations is another matter.
Momeni's attorneys also turned to a self-defense expert to reinforce Momeni's account. The expert demonstrated in court using a pen to symbolize the knife, how Lee could have pulled the knife from his right front pocket during the altercation, arguing that this scenario matched Momeni's claims. But to the prosecution and to Lee's family, this reenactment was out of the question, an attempt to rewrite the events that cost them their loved one.
The only way they found somebody to defend that was to find somebody who has no expertise. Unfortunately, they cannot hear that Bob's side of the story, and they can't see who Bob was from what's in that courtroom today.
Lauren is going to continue to follow this trial from inside the courtroom. You can find the very latest on the case on our website, KPIX.com. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, a third deadly boating accident this month alone near Bodega Bay. What we're learning about this latest tragedy and some words of warning for people thinking of heading out on the water. Plus, the take-home treatment program to help overcome drug addiction that involves doses of actual opioids. Community leaders in San Francisco say it is keeping overdose deaths down. And this old relic is making a comeback with a new generation. We're heading to a Berkeley business where typewriters are all the rage these days.
Today is the last dry day for us here in the Bay Area. We are gearing up for some heavy showers starting early tomorrow morning during those commute hours, starting up in the North Bay, moving down to the South Bay from 6 to 9 a.m. And then it's game on with heavy showers throughout the afternoon hours, especially up to the north, just past the Golden Gate Bridge. We'll be under a flood watch from Wednesday until Friday for our friends up in the North Bay. For the rest of us, we are expected to see some really impactful amounts of rain to add to that gusty conditions with wind speeds anywhere up to around 40 miles per hour into this week.
For the third time this month, we are reporting on a deadly boating accident in the very same place, Bodega Bay. Our chopper was overhead after the latest accident yesterday afternoon. You can see that boat there on its side on the beach. We're told 5 people were on board when this boat capsized near Salmon Creek. 1 person was killed. The other 4 rushed to the hospital. And just this past weekend, there was a memorial for 4 family members and their friend who all died when their boat capsized in Bodega Bay. A 13-year-old was the only survivor. That accident happened 2 weeks ago. And just a couple of days after that, 2 people were killed when their boat capsized in the very same area. Kara St. Cyr reports from the North Bay, where officials are doing what they can to warn people about the dangers.
Volunteer firefighter Pat Patterson rushed to Salmon Creek after hearing about a boat capsizing near Bodega Bay Monday afternoon. When he got there, he saw rescue crews pulling people from the water.
They flew 2 survivors. The Highway Patrol helicopter and the Sonoma County Fire Department helicopter flew 2 survivors to the hospital.
The Sonoma County Sheriff's Office responded to a boater in distress call around 1 o'clock before sending crews out to Salmon Creek. Misty Wood, a spokesperson for the Sheriff's Office, confirmed 5 people were thrown into the water. 1 person was killed while the other 4 were pulled to safety.
We're still conducting the investigation into how and why the boat accident occurred.
This is the 3rd boat to capsize in Bodega Bay this month. Police responded to 2 other accidents on November 2nd and 4th that left at least 5 people dead. Wood says it's unusual to see so many accidents in such a short time frame, and that rough weather was likely a major factor. She says the best way to prevent a capsize is to know your boat and understand the conditions.
Obviously, the size of the boat is going to dictate how well it's going to fare in larger swells. An individual skill set obviously comes into play with how experienced they are and how well they can operate that boat. And if conditions are just too dangerous or if you don't feel quite comfortable, don't go out there.
Patterson says the conditions on the water have been exceptionally rough this past week, and he expects them to get worse heading into winter. But he says the recent accidents should be taken as a warning for anyone thinking about going out on the water.
Storms are coming in. It's the surf is rough. You need to get back in around the head before the wind picks up in the afternoon.
Well, this was the 8th death in Bodega Bay in just the past 2 weeks. The other 4 people on that boat are expected to recover. The drug crisis continues to be one of San Francisco's biggest challenges, but there are some new signs that things could be headed in the right direction. The health department recorded 32 deaths from accidental overdoses last month. That is down more than 50% from last October, and the fewest deaths in a single month since the city started releasing monthly numbers back in 2020. Health department also says the total number of accidental overdose deaths so far this year is down more than 20% compared to the same time last year. San Francisco launching a new campaign raising awareness about drug treatment and recovery services. It's called the Living Proof Campaign. It features 9 San Franciscans who have overcome addiction with the help of treatment and recovery programs. And now they're sharing their stories, saying they are living proof that those resources work.
We had our daughter, and that's when our recovery journey started. Because of our addiction, we didn't know that I was pregnant until I was having our daughter, Paloma, and we knew instantly that our lives had to change for her sake.
The ads are appearing on billboards and bus shelters. Here is a look at some of the numbers. In 2023, there were 810 overdose deaths in San Francisco. There have been a total of 536 overdose deaths so far this year through October. Community advocates say that drop is partially thanks to new tools like a unique take-home treatment program. Our Suji Nam explains.
Quincy Gillum, who goes by Q, is passionate about helping those who may be struggling with substance abuse. As a treatment center director at Bart Market Street Clinic,
Bart Market, where change begins, Q speaking.
he makes sure people who are underserved or are homeless get the help that they need.
So, dose goes in.
And it all starts with Sonara Health's at-home methadone treatment.
You're going to show the camera. Once you show the camera, which you'll normally people have it, they'll show the camera. And then basically once they show that their dose is there, they will then again take dose, put it back in front of the camera, and then basically they'll show that their dose is done and they're confirming with the app their face also.
Clients in this program take home up to 27 of these bottles, each containing 100 milligrams of methadone in these locked bags.
Goes into the bag.
Officials say having programs like Sonara is what contributed to the 37% decrease in overdose deaths nationwide.
It actually mimics for the individual that high that they're actually getting.
The clinic offers this synthetic opioid as an alternative to fentanyl in hopes that users wean off of it and opioid use entirely. The bottles are sealed, labeled in order of use at home, cutting the time it takes for someone to go to a clinic for treatment. Q says this process holds clients accountable in wanting to make positive changes in their lives.
He admitted, he said, I used to sell my methadone. He said, but now that you guys are giving me take-homes, he said, and I have the ability to do it over the phone, he said, it gives me accountability. Like, I know you guys are checking.
Sonara Health CEO Dr. Michael Giles says 7 clinics in California are participating in his program.
The goal for us is not to monitor patients without any real need. Once that trust has been established between the patient and provider, patient kind of weans off of Sonara and they have fully unmonitored doses.
Sure, I can do that.
And back here on Market Street, Q says it's all about transforming the clients' lives from treatment to recovery, using tools just like this.
Every day we use these phones, so why not make them a part of the collaborative in the treatment process?
Q is pushing for more innovative resources like these to help even more people in need.
And some new numbers in today from Governor Newsom's office. In October alone, California's fentanyl task force has seized over 1.7 million fentanyl pills. That is an estimated street value of $11.9 million. Still ahead, an older technology is clicking with the new generation. We're heading to Berkeley, where a shop is working to preserve the typewriter.
They pretty much tell me the same thing. When they get down on a typewriter and start working on it, that what they call a tactile feel is what they're looking for.
Day is the calm before the storm here in the Bay Area, with an atmospheric river focusing its way into the bay as we head into the early morning hours tomorrow. Now today it's just partly cloudy with 50s and 60s in the forecast for us widespread throughout the bay. You'll notice those clouds continuing to move in from offshore throughout the evening hours tonight. But early morning hours tomorrow, that's when we start to see heavy rain start up in the North Bay in areas like Santa Rosa, stretched all the way down into the Golden Gate Bridge with a flood watch in effect at this point. That flood watch remains in effect until Friday morning, with gusty winds expected with this system too. I advanced the clock pretty fast to show you that most of the rain will be up into the North Bay, closer to around 3 inches near Napa and Sonoma, and we're also going to get some gusty winds up there too. Wind speeds today are nice and calm. We're seeing about 5 to 10 mile per hour wind gusts, but by tomorrow around this exact time we could see it anywhere up to around 30 to 40 miles per hour along the coast just near Bodega Bay. And then it's game on. We'll continue to see more rain heading into this weekend and early next week. We'll keep you updated with those rainfall totals here in the Weather Center.
In a world dominated by sleek digital devices, one old school technology is roaring back to life. As our Itai Hod reports, one store in Berkeley is at the center of this unexpected revival.
Nestled in the heart of Berkeley is a quaint little shop where the past refuses to fade. Here, the clickety-clack of forgotten treasures is inspiring a new generation to tap into nostalgia.
They have been really coming out of the woodwork.
Ken Alexander is a mechanic at Berkeley Typewriter. A few years ago, things were looking pretty bleak. Now, business is booming.
To a T, they pretty much tell me the same thing. When they get down on a typewriter and start working on it, that what they call a tactile feel is what they're looking for.
Once destined for the trash heap, typewriters are making a comeback, fetching hundreds of dollars on the open market.
I really love that you can't erase, and if you make a mistake, you just backspace and type really hard and hope that people find it charming.
Typewriter poet Sylvie Alcivar says these old machines are gaining popularity for all the features they're missing, like the distractions of an internet connection and the constant prompts of a word processor.
I think the typewriter allows you to do, if you want to, is to be connected to a more stream of consciousness, a more flow of presence.
Richard Polt literally wrote the book on typewriters. He says many young people are rediscovering these old relics,
I love you.
thanks in part to Taylor Swift, who included a vintage typewriter in her music video Fortnite.
What they find is a kind of magic that comes from doing things physically, doing things in a way that requires more personal touch and personal connection.
As for Alexander, he says this renaissance is a much-needed shift, one that might just keep him from typing up his resume anytime soon.
I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they're back to stay.
A technology once considered obsolete is now winning ribbons in a new generation.
Last year, Berkeley Typewriter received a pretty special donation from none other than East Bay native Tom Hanks. The Oscar-winning actor gifted the shop an autographed IBM Selectric along with a typed letter. Hanks has been collecting typewriters for decades, apparently. He even helped create an app called Hanks Writer, which turns your iPad into a typewriter. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, we're going to take a look into the transition team for San Francisco's mayor-elect Daniel Lurie and the high-profile tech CEO joining life at City Hall. Plus, a lot of people in the Bay Area struggling with food insecurity. We're going to take a look at an organization's innovative efforts to combat hunger. and this is The Minute. Today, the defense in Nima Momeni's murder trial is expected to rest its case. The prosecution still expected to call several more witnesses. Momeni answered dozens of questions from the jury yesterday. He maintains Bob Lee attacked him first and that he was just defending himself. The BART station in Union City back open this morning after BART police shot someone in the parking lot last night. It happened at around 9:30. The person was sent to the hospital and their condition has not been released, and police have still not said yet what led up to that shooting. The San Jose City Council meeting this afternoon to decide how to move forward with filling a seat that was occupied by former council member Omar Torres. Torres remains in jail on multiple charges, including the sexual assault of a child. The Bay Area's only primetime newscasts at 8 and 9 p.m. on PIX Plus, 44, Cable 12.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
We will be under a flood watch all throughout the North Bay, from the Golden Gate Bridge and Marin Headland, or the Marin Headlands area, all the way up north in areas like Napa and Sonoma, starting early tomorrow morning, just around 4 a.m. And that's going to last throughout Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday's forecast too, with heavy rain expected each of those days, especially up in the North Bay, but widespread throughout the Bay Area. I mean, we're all going to get our fair share of showers. Take a look at this. We're expecting 60s today with these dry conditions, partly cloudy skies, but let's time out the storm right now. So we are prepared before we head out the door tomorrow morning, or we can at least game plan tonight before it even starts, because around 3 a.m. up near Santa Rosa, that's when we get our first splash of showers. And then it becomes a lot more apparent how heavy this is and how consistent it is too. Now by 7 a.m. we're seeing light to heavy rain in the forecast for us throughout the North Bay. Light scattered showers starting to fall down into the South Bay just around lunchtime. And this exact same storm system is the one that's fueling in snow to the Sierra too, but we're focused about us here in the Bay right now. Along our coastline, we can see wind gusts up to around 50 miles per hour in areas like Bodega Bay. 30-mile-per-hour wind gust expected with this exact same rain system into the evening hours tomorrow night up into the North Bay. Notice how we don't really catch a break as we head into those evening hours. In certain pockets of the Bay Area, yes, but there's still those heavy pockets of rain that will fall into the early morning hours on Thursday too. So in total, we could see close to around 3 inches up in the North Bay in areas like Napa, about 2 inches closer to areas like San Rafael, about 1/10 of an inch down into the Santa Clara Valley. Let's head over and take a look at the next 7 days real fast, because as we head into this wet setup for us throughout the rest of this week, heading into the weekend forecast, we'll continue to keep you updated with those rainfall totals. Right now, models are changing here and there as we take a look at the long-range models, so by next Monday, things could look a lot different. But right now, one thing we do know is early tomorrow morning, we will receive that heavy rain up into the North Bay, and heading into the morning commute hours, it will impact all of us throughout the Bay Area heading into the afternoon hours tomorrow, lingering into Thursday and Friday too, with cool, chilly conditions and a wind advisory that will remain in effect throughout the afternoon hours today, heading into the early morning hours tomorrow.
In less than 2 months, Daniel Lurie is going to be sworn in as San Francisco's new mayor. And we now know more about the transition team that's going to help him prepare for life at City Hall. It includes 7 co-chairs that Lurie says will give him advice and help build relationships with city agencies and key partners. And at the top of that list, one of the most prominent figures in the city's tech industry. Kevin Coe has a look at Lurie's list.
Hello, everybody. This is a group of individuals that is committed to accountability, to service, and to change.
Mayor-elect Daniel Lurie announcing his transition team through this video on social media, highlighting his 7 co-chairs and 3 advisors.
They represent a diverse set of viewpoints.
Lurie's list includes some heavy hitters, most notably Sam Altman, the co-founder and CEO of OpenAI. It's unclear how much influence one of the most powerful people in the tech industry will have, or what he plans to do with it. Lurie is hoping to bring more tech jobs into the city, and former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown is optimistic about Altman having a seat at the table.
I would say that Sam Altman is probably going to be a better contributor and a bigger contributor than Elon Musk to the administration headed by Trump.
He also believes Lurie is focused on San Francisco's future instead of political gain.
I gotta believe that his interest will not be to be the next governor or the next president. And if that happens, he's got a good shot because quality people will work with him.
The transition team also includes some veteran officials to help navigate city government, including former Stockton Mayor Michael Tubbs, an advocate for universal basic income who is currently a special advisor to Governor Gavin Newsom. There's also former San Francisco Fire Chief Joanne Hayes White, a supporter of Lurie's campaign, who retired in 2019.
It's going to be very interesting how that actually ends up playing out, because with the way it's presented as 7 co-equal people, that never ends up being how things work.
Rebecca Eisler is an associate professor of political science at SFSU. She says while different voices will be at the table, only time will tell if everyone's influence is equal, including Altman's.
We don't frequently have people who truly are outsiders to politics, given such a prominent position in a transition. But I do think it speaks to the diversity of interests here in San Francisco. I think his long-term political success is going to hinge on what he's able to accomplish and what he's able to accomplish quickly.
Lurie appears to know this as well, sharing that the transition team will create 100-day plans with accountability metrics.
Lurie's transition team also includes 3 advisors. Sarah Fensky-Bahat, that's an executive with experience in nonprofits, finance, and government. Ann O'Leary, a public policy lawyer and Governor Newsom's first chief of staff, as well as Ben Rosenfield, former San Francisco city controller. Turning now to the East Bay, where Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price is accepting defeat in the highly contentious recall election. The latest results showing about 150,000 more yes votes compared to the no votes. Yesterday, she reflected on her time in office, highlighting some of her achievements, like diversifying the office and securing funding for a firearm buyback program. Despite her focus on criminal justice reform, her time in office was highly divisive, supporters urging the successor to continue key cases, while others called for oversight during the transition.
We want to make sure, while she's still remaining at the DA office, we do not wish to see her continuation of the destruction and her vindictive action against anyone. We want to see a true, smooth, transition.
The election is estimated to be certified sometime in December, and after that, the Board of Supervisors will appoint a replacement to fill the office until a new election in 2026. Well, the city of Oakland is facing a massive budget shortfall, and city leaders say at this rate, budget cuts are inevitable. Oakland workers and union leaders rallied yesterday against some of those proposed cuts. The proposed cuts include $34 million from fire services. And in a contingency budget plan released in June, there was talk of cutting the police force to 600 officers from the current 670.
This is not acceptable. That is why today we're calling for our neighbors and leaders to rally around a sustainable budget roadmap, a clear, actionable plan to avoid devastating cuts to essential services and put Oakland on the path towards long-term fiscal stability.
Now, the city admits it's already spending money from its emergency reserves, and Councilman Noel Gallo says even those massive cuts will not be enough.
At the end of the day, we're going to have to negotiate with the unions. We got to make some reductions. We may have to lay some people off.
Well, the city council is meeting today to talk about the budget. Food insecurity is a critical public health concern that affects thousands of families each year. According to a study done by SJSU ScholarWorks, food insecurity here in the Bay Area increased by 65% after the pandemic. A lot of people rely on organizations like food banks to survive. Food for Bay Area families shines a spotlight on the incredible partnerships making a difference in our communities to try to combat hunger in the Bay Area. In Alameda County, the Community Food Bank is teaming up with Dig Deep Farms, which is dedicated to growing organic produce and advancing the initiative of food as medicine. Our Veronica Macias reports from the Alameda County Food Bank to show us how the community is coming together this holiday season.
Here at the Alameda County Community Food Bank, they're taking a new approach to end hunger, and that's by looking at the systemic issues behind food insecurity and looking at the entire picture by looking at who's growing the food, how they're growing it, and how it gets delivered to families in need. Inside this greenhouse is where Troy Horton with Dig Deep Farms is helping grow all kinds of leafy greens.
We grow them in here, grow them up to a good condition. It's more climate controlled in here.
At Dig Deep Farms, Horton says there's always a constant cycle of agriculture through their regenerative farming technique. These leafy greens go through as many clipping rounds as possible before any replanting happens, and nothing is wasted.
Like having sovereignty over your seeds is just as important as having sovereignty over your food. Without seeds, there's no food. And so we try to do our part to save seeds and have seeds on hand.
Once his plants are ready to leave the greenhouses, they're transplanted into a field at Ardenwood Historic Farms. Here, Dig Deep Farms is working 53 acres of land by employing a small number of people like this husband and wife planting green onions. Dig Deep Farms may also be getting to the root of many problems. Growing these types of foods is helping not only feed, but aiming to prevent ailments growing in communities of color. Having these foods grown by hands of Black, Indigenous, and farmers of color is also pushing the concept of food justice.
The reality is that when you go to a pantry and you ask a person what brought them there, food is going to be probably the fourth or fifth thing that they say. A lot of the times they talk about issues around housing, healthcare, employment. And so the reality is that you cannot end hunger with food alone.
The Alameda County Community Food Bank is helping feed thousands of families and is helping distribute the collard greens grown at Dig Deep Farms. The food bank is also serving as an incubator, sponsoring the farm financially until it further develops and reaches independence. Already, though, the farm is making a difference.
I want the collard greens. We give away food 2 Wednesdays a month and the 3rd Saturday of every month. So we usually have about 100 people on Saturdays.
Sharon, who is a pantry coordinator at an Alameda Baptist church and among many of the nonprofits who partner with the food bank, is picking up the collards delivered from Dig Deep Farms.
This would be a great help.
And with a growing number of people facing money struggles and access to affordable, nourishing food, this full circle moment is exactly how the Alameda County Community Food Bank believes they're achieving their new model of food justice.
That's one of the reasons that I got into farming, like to close that loop of like growing food for the community, for myself, and seeing it go out and do just that.
You've heard the saying, you are what you eat. And with this partnership with Dig Deep Farms, they're also working on another initiative, and that's Recipe for Health.
To learn how you can donate money or food or volunteer your time, you can use the QR code there on your screen or head to our website, kpix.com/give. For every dollar raised, a Bay Area family will get 2 meals. Coming up next, it was another disappointing loss for a banged-up Niner team, but that is not stopping one of its stars from giving back to the community.
Today is the last dry day for us here in the Bay Area. We are gearing up for some heavy showers starting early tomorrow morning during those commute hours, starting up in the North Bay, moving down to the South Bay from 6 to 9 a.m. And then it's game on with heavy showers throughout the afternoon hours, especially up to the north, just past the Golden Gate Bridge. We'll be under a flood watch from Wednesday until Friday for our friends up in the North Bay. For the rest of us, we are expected to see some really impactful amounts of rain to add to that gusty conditions with wind speeds anywhere up to around 40 miles per hour into this week.
49ers linebacker Fred Warner is celebrating his birthday today. He just turned 28, and he spent the hours before his big day in Walnut Creek, helping collect items for the food bank of Contra Costa and Solano counties. Our Vern Glenn was there.
This is the Audi Red and Gold Report.
Thanksgiving is in 10 days, but 49er linebacker Fred Warner got the jump on it with his third annual food drive. Fans have been here since 6:30 in the morning for a chance to meet, greet, possibly console the defensive captain after the 49ers were stunned by Seattle. Kind of warms the heart a little bit, huh?
Yeah, no, something that's much needed given the last 24 hours, and just being able to get back during the holidays is extra special.
You've had a chance to maybe digest it a little bit. You've seen the films. What jumps out?
We just didn't finish. That's all that was, and it's on to the next week, next game, and getting back to being the best.
And here's the big thing: we're on the eve of your birthday.
Oh no,
come on now, come on! Your first birthday as a father? Because after the birthday, it's in Packer Week.
Yeah. Unfortunately, another year older, as they say, and hey, we're here for the food drive though. We ain't worried about no birthdays, man.
With the Red and Gold Report, I'm Vern Glenn.
Well, a happy birthday to him. Coming up, Native American cultures had their own beliefs about gender and gender roles. Taking a closer look at what these ancient cultures can teach modern-day society.
Today is the calm before the storm here in the Bay Area, with an atmospheric river focusing its way into the bay as we head into the early morning hours tomorrow. Now today it's just partly cloudy with 50s and 60s in the forecast for us widespread throughout the bay. You'll notice those clouds continuing to move in from offshore throughout the evening hours tonight. But early morning hours tomorrow, that's when we start to see heavy rain start up in the North Bay and areas like Santa Rosa, stretched all the way down into the Golden Gate Bridge with a flood watch in effect at this point. That flood watch remains in effect until Friday morning, with gusts gusty winds expected with this system too. I advanced the clock pretty fast to show you that most of the rain will be up into the North Bay, closer to around 3 inches near Napa and Sonoma. And we're also going to get some gusty winds up there too. Wind speeds today are nice and calm. We're seeing about 5 to 10 mile per hour wind gusts. But by tomorrow, around this exact time, we could see it anywhere up to around 30 to 40 miles per hour along the coast just near Bodega Bay. And then it's game on. We'll continue to see more rain heading into this weekend and early next week. We'll keep you updated with those rainfall totals here in the Weather Center.
Well, gender identity has become a real hot button political topic in current times. But did you know that many cultures indigenous to the Americas have 3 recognized genders? As we celebrate Native American Heritage Month today, we're taking a look at the intersection of those cultures with the LGBTQ community. Our Jose Martinez spoke with a Bay Area man carrying on the tradition of his ancestors.
In many indigenous cultures across the Americas, gender is recognized as fluid, contrasting with Western norms. In the Zapotec community of Oaxaca, Mexico, 3 genders are acknowledged: men, women, and muxes, a respective third gender deeply rooted in cultural beliefs of balance and harmony. Here in San Francisco, David Kelvin Santos is continuing that tradition.
Yo compro vestidos porque me gusta que mi hermana los use. Yo no uso vestidos, yo soy un mushenyu. Mushenyu somos los hombres que nos vestimos con pantalón y guayabera.
David explains the 2 types of muxes: guna, who were assigned male at birth but identify as women, and inyu, like himself, who is a man attracted to other men. David recalls the first ever Vela Muxe he helped organize in San Francisco, where muxes paraded through the streets celebrating their identity.
Una vela espectacular con una calenda, por primera vez los muxes caminando por San Francisco.
In many Native American cultures, gender diversity has been widely accepted for centuries. Among the Navajo, there are 2-spirit people, individuals who embody both masculine and feminine qualities, often holding spiritual or leadership roles. David also tells us in California they were called Hoyas and performed women's work, married men, and could engage with both men and women, but they were almost entirely erased, unlike in Zapotec society.
Contrario a Juchitán, que además la resistencia cultural, la valentía de las personas por conservar la cultura, ha hecho que el tercer género subsista.
Vidal Antonio Lopez, another muxe from Oaxaca, now in Oakland, says the opportunities for muxes have improved significantly compared to decades past.
Hace 50 años, hace 45 años, la situación era totalmente diferente. El muxe usualmente estaba destinado a trabajar en una cantina. No había tantas oportunidades.
Felina Santiago, a prominent muxe guna in Juchitán, reflects on the evolving expression of muxe identity, noting that contemporary muxes embrace their appearance more openly than in the past.
Antes las muxes pues eran más un poco más reservadas, no se maquillaban, no se vestían, no se dejaban el pelo tan largo. Sí es cierto que siempre han existido, pero tenían otra forma de vestirse, de caminar, pues de acuerdo a aquella época, ¿no? Que no teníamos internet, no teníamos televisión.
Despite the celebration of their identities, muxes still face discrimination and violence. Advocacy group Letra S reports over 450 murders of LGBTQ+ individuals, including muxes, from 2018 to 2022 in Mexico. Throughout the challenges, muxes are determined to keep their traditions alive.
Quienes migramos, la nostalgia nos mata, el sentimiento de nuestra raíz nos hace mucha falta y necesitamos encontrar algo de qué agarrarnos para no sentirnos que estamos solos y como barco a la deriva.
It's just not about celebration. It's about connecting cultures and honoring the rich history of Native American and Zapotec traditions.
The next community celebration is going to take place in May. For more Native American Heritage Month stories, you can head to our website, kpix.com. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.